Okay, guys, this is video number 14, and I'm gonna throw a little medium at y'all, okay? Because I have a best friend who had a son, and I get the privilege to be his godmother. And this story is basically his life story. Being a little medium. So, for those of you who don't know what that is, basically, he is in touch with the supernatural world. He can see ghosts, he can talk to ghosts, he can feel their presence. And yes. However, he is also a kid. So, while his mom and I are excited and kind of I don't want to say scared because I don't think either of us are necessarily scared, but we're anticipating him growing up because we both really want to see what this turns into as he grows older. And with both of us being believers, I don't think that this is ever going to escape his mind as, oh, well, that's not real. So, without further ado, I'm basically going to go over this little planned out little list thing that her and I were able to construct of all of the things that we both remember throughout his little lifespan so far. So, when Dante was 2 years old, he lived in Scotts Bluff, and there was a ghost or a presence in his house, and it was only ever in the living room. And he wanted his own little area, and so my best friend did up the living room because it was a smaller house. So she like flipped the living room for him and made it his little area that he can have his own little room. And after a while, with seeing this presence here, he absolutely refused to go in there and sleep in there. And he would actually say, "No scare," and point to the living room. And I remind you, he's 2 when this happened. Then, a year later, he and his parents were living with me in my apartment. And so he was 3 years old. And he would talk to himself a lot. Like, we would be doing, random things, and we would just hear him in whatever room he was in at the moment talking. Like, full-blown conversations, talking to himself. And then, at different times after the conversation that he had with himself, he would randomly just start telling us parts of his conversation that he had with this ghost. We couldn't understand the ghost's name. He was either saying Mac, M-A-C, or Max, M-A-X. I almost said K. And at times, we thought he had said both of those names, so we're not entirely sure if there's like 2 separate ghosts or if it was one or how that is happening. And one day we in particular, we noticed that he was talking to himself. Like, we actually went to investigate what he was doing. And he was talking to himself, and I think hit the bedroom. And we asked him, hey, buddy, who are you talking to? And he responded to us with Mac or Max, whatever the name is. And we were like, oh, okay, well, is this like a friend of yours? Like, maybe like an imaginary friend? And he was like, no. And then he, said it's Mac or Max. And we were just like, okay. And then we had our own little like conversations about it in the middle, where we thought, what if it's more than just like an imaginary friend? Like, what if it is a ghost? Because we had all seen like bits and pieces of what might have been like a sighting. But then what kind of confirmed it to us as well is we would see him standing there just staring up at the wall. And he wouldn't blink, and he would just be staring up at the wall for long periods of time. And at one point, I don't think either of his parents was present, but I was watching him and he was staring up at the wall, and I said, "Hey, Dante, what are you staring at?" And he goes, "They're dead up there." And I was like, "You want to run that by me again?" "They're who? Up where?" Let's go in the other room. And there was times where like we would feel something, or we would think that we saw something, or like we were standing or sitting in an area, and he would be like, Max is there or here. So he would let us know when this presence was there. So he definitely did see something. Them being dead up there is a scary thing for a 3-year-old to see. But he saw it. Whew. And then we spent a short time living with his aunt, and while he was 3 years old. And he kind of said that same sort of thing again. We were all standing in the living room, and he's staring again up at, it was like a big room, and he was staring at the top. And I don't know how to explain it. Like, there was a stairwell, and then there was like a little balcony, and then there was like the walkway to get to the kitchen and the hallway. And like above all of that, it was just like a bare, empty wall. And he pointed up there and he said, "That guy is dead up there." And it freaked us all out. Like, 100%, we were freaked out. We were like, don't ever say that again, because no. Just no. That was when he was 3. Then, when we aged him up to 4 years old, and we were living in a different house in Scotts Bluff, yes, we moved around a lot. Back when, and I'm going to reference another one of the videos, in particular, video number 6, when I introduced Patricia to you guys. Dante was around when we were having, these conversations of our experiences about Patricia, and he would talk to her or talk about her as if she was another member of the family and living in the household. And he would act as if she was just another person living in our house. And he had heard us talking about our experiences with her, and he told us that she is real, and he knows that because he saw her. And that freaked out his dad, who then a day or two later had his own encounter with Patricia. So that was a little freaky. And then we kind of did the whole, looking for the obituary and all of that stuff. And then we got the mail, and Patricia is real. So then, when he was 5 years old, he had 2 visions. The first time, he went with my best friend, his mom, and they were visiting, I believe, her mom in North Platte, I want to say. If I'm remembering this part of the story correctly, she will correct me when she sees the video if I'm wrong. But he randomly goes up to her and says, "Do you want to know what I just saw in my head?" And she was like, "Yeah." And Dante replied with, "I saw Daddy driving his car." So, being in two different places, because, like I said, she was visiting her mom, and his dad was back in Scotts Bluff, and so she called him and was like, "Hey, are you driving?" And he said, "Yeah, but I just got home." So there is zero way that he would know that his dad was driving a car, because there are two different places. So that was the first vision. And then there's something that happened between that first vision and the second vision. So this is when they were back at home, and his great grandmother, I believe is who it was, or just his grandmother, had passed away. And they all, like all of the grandchildren, got urns. And they kept the urn on a shelf on one of the, I want to say book cabinets, but it's not a book cabinet, it's just a shelf. And they never told Dante where this was. And without him seeing it or knowing where it was, he goes and he points towards, the shelf, and he said, "My grandma is up there." How does a 5-year-old know that when he's not told or shown that it is up there? And then they were visiting North Platte again, and his second vision happened. And this time he also asked, "Do you want to know what I just saw in my head?" To which his mom had replied, "Yeah." And Dante said, "I saw Kiwi curled up on the back of the couch looking out the living room window." And she told me that she thought this was very odd for a couple of reasons. One, her sister and his aunt had been looking for Kiwi. Kiwi is her mom's cat. And her sister could not find the cat. And right after she was looking for the cat, Dante got into the shower and had been in the shower for at least 30 minutes before he randomly brought this up. And because he's only 5 years old, he had his mom, helping him take his shower. And he brings this up in the shower. So she thought it was odd that he saw that randomly while he was in the shower. Like, how are you in the living room seeing that when you're in the shower and have been for the past 30 minutes? So she thought that was very odd. I feel like I kind of zoomed through all of that. But that's everything that we could remember on the fly from his whole entire life. And the more we talk about it, the more we remember more things that had happened and that he has encountered and experienced, and then in turn we have encountered and experienced. So yes, I think my godson so far is a medium, and those are the things that so far he has gone through. So I want to know, do you have anybody that you know who has gone through some stuff like that too? And if so, I would love to hear about it. And I would like you to leave me a comment down below and tell me about your experience. My hands are so dry. Ugh. But yeah, I would like to hear your experience. And yeah. That's my little god baby for you. So, that is video 14. I believe I'm looking. That's video 14. And there's plenty of other videos that I would love for you guys to go check it out. So please don't forget to check out my October playlist. And you can also head on over to my sister's channel where she has finished some of the stories that I started over here. Mainly the ones that involve her. So I will leave those two links down in the description. Almost said comments. Down in the description. I almost said it again. Down in the description. And yeah, for you to check out. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.